Are you scared of AI? Don't be scared, homie. Do you feel like you are already behind? What if I told you that fear is being manufactured on purpose? The loudest voices in AI, the hype bros and the doomers, they're both lying to you. One side needs you scared so you buy their course. The other side needs you scared so you click on their next video. Neither one is actually running a business. Meanwhile, you're stuck in the middle trying to figure out what to actually do. The AI tools available right now are already more powerful than almost anyone using them. There's a massive gap between what AI can do and what most founders are doing with it. That gap is exactly where the fortunes are being made and where they're being lost. So you might ask yourself, am I letting fear make my business decisions or am I making them myself? Welcome to AI for Founders. I'm Ryan Estes. On this show, you'll learn how real founders are using AI to scale past the hype and get past the fear. This episode is for the business leader who's tired of the noise and ready to actually do something with AI. Today's guest is Rob Collie, co-founder of P3 Adaptive, a data and analytics consulting firm that helps companies actually put AI to work. If you want the insights that never make it to the episode, the newsletter is where they live. Head to aiforfounders.co and get the good stuff before your competitors do. It's free, it's fast, and it might be the smartest 5 minutes of your week. Do me a favor and leave a review of this podcast. Think of it as a free coffee for the show that only costs you 30 seconds. And let's talk about owning your audience instead of renting it. Every platform you post on can change the algorithm overnight and bury your reach tomorrow. That's why smart founders are building something nobody can take away, an email list they actually own. That's where Inbox Alchemy comes in. They're the #1 distribution motion for founders who want a real audience, not rented attention. Weekly, professionally crafted newsletters that build your personal brand while you focus on your business. Guaranteed growth, a targeted audience, and real partnership opportunities with founders in your space. Stop begging an algorithm for attention and start owning your audience for life. Head to inboxalchemy.co and start building the list that builds your business. Rob, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Ryan. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely my pleasure. And I want to say congratulations. Your book has launched. We're going to get right into it. It's called Fair Game. And I want to know who it's for and why you wrote it, but also maybe we can just start of what was it like writing a book? It's something that I think a lot of us have aspire to one day, but boy, that blank page is intimidating.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't recommend it. I've written books before. About 10 years ago, I wrote what was at the time the runaway #1 bestseller on Power BI, the dashboards and BI product from Microsoft. And that process was so grueling on both me and my family that I swore it off. I said, that's it. That's the last time I'm ever going to do that. I promised myself and my family I would never do that again. But I also never expected to have something that would compel me to do it again. I really didn't think that was going to happen again. And so, but yeah, then suddenly I found myself in that grind again, doing battle with the blank page. Getting off the starting line is difficult. And then there's this this honeymoon period where you're like, oh, this is great. This is fun. And like the first chapter or two, you're just kind of just flying through it. It feels not flying through it, but the energy cost seems to be self-feeding. Like you're getting as much more energy out of it than you're putting into it. That wears out though. You in the middle chapters in the old, really really old original Ghostbusters movie, they're climbing the stairs. And at the beginning, they're fine in this building, but then they're just getting so worn out. And someone says, "Okay, let me know when we get to 40. I'm going to throw up when we get to the 40th floor, climbing these stairs." It does take a lot out of you. It's a real drain, and it has to. You have to have something that's driving it, and. Sometimes it's importance. Some people are really wired around importance, and some people are really wired around interest. And importance can mean different things. But with this book, the subtitle of the book is "Customizing AI to Your Business is Easier Than You Think." I kind of felt like I almost owed this book to the world because I see such a a sharp divide between people who are in the loop on what AI really means and like how you actually really use it for true business use, and those who don't. And those who do, who are in the loop, they tend to get a lot more press. They tend to get a lot more airtime. You see a lot of this. You see a lot of like effortless discussion between two people who've sort of like crossed over into understanding what AI really means for business. And it's hard to break into that if you're on the outside looking in. And we've certainly talked a lot about the capabilities overhang. Like the LLMs that are on the market today are already just far more capable than what people are applying them for in general. And we're also seeing the big labs and even Microsoft also starting up like brand new, massive, heavily funded consulting organizations because they're starting to recognize exactly this, that like the models are outpacing people's understanding of what to do with them. And just to kind of finish that story, like I'm a longtime technology professional. I mean, I grew up at Microsoft. Like I showed up out there in 1996 as a fresh college hire. And AI was sort of happening in parallel with my other business, my core business, which we'll talk about later. And it wasn't even obvious to me. Like as a longtime tech insider, like I didn't know there were things I really did not know. I didn't understand. Like AI is so different. I've heard you on other episodes of your show refer to AI as like the single largest disruptor we've ever seen. I think that's without a doubt the case. I think it's also the single largest challenge to ever face business leaders, maybe in the history of business, like what to do about it. And so I had to go on my own sort of journey of personal discovery to understand, like, okay, I'm hearing all of this hype about disruption and job displacement, but also like just the massive opportunity that faces all businesses today. But like when you sit down with off-the-shelf ChatGPT or off-the-shelf Claude, you can't glimpse that. Like you're being told one sort of like really ambitious story that's going to change everything about your entire business. But then your exposure to it kind of bottlenecks on and face plants on this out of the box experience, of using these subscription tools. And there's such a gap between those two stories. And as that started to become clear to me what it was like to fill that gap and to cross that gap and going, oh my gosh, that's it. Like that's all it is. Like it's understandable. It's way more understandable than I expected it to be. That's when I realized that I felt like I almost like owed the book, like almost like owed it to the world in a way. It's like, and that really was the thing that powered me through. Certainly writing a book is good for your personal brand. It's also, good for your business in the end if you get it done. But I'm not wired to get through that slog for just those reasons.
Yeah. I love that, man. And I would love to kind of dive into this moment too, as you're starting to wrangle with like, how do I incorporate AI into my business? Now, to get to that point, there's a certain amount of emotional hurdles you got to get over first, because the way that AI was sold to us from the charismatic autistics was scary. It's like on one side, you've got robot dogs that have lasers on their head, or you have kamikaze robot bees that are going to blow us up, or you've got everyone's going to lose their job, or it's going to be we're creating God. So like there's like massive emotion that goes into this. There's massive fear and trepidation that everyone's kind of like, dude, is this even a good idea? Like what, maybe we should unplug this. Maybe we shouldn't do this. So there's a lot of factors that you have to kind of like overcome before you see a potential upside. What was that like emotional kind of like, I don't know, hurdling?
Yeah.
The emotional pole vault to get you to start to engage. What did you have to kind of overcome?
Well, I think that, for me, it was like a rising necessity. Our business is a P3 adaptive that I co-founded with my wife, another Microsoftie, in 2013. We're a data and analytics consulting firm, and as we know, the LLMs are they love writing code. Code is code, scripts, formulas, etc. are almost like easy mode for LLMs compared to doing the amazing human style thinking that they've become capable of in successive generations. Like we had GitHub Copilot as a successful commercial product before we had the ChatGPT craze, and so there was a definite necessity, like a real feet to the fire, for me as the leader of this company, to chart our course forward, because I know that it's going to open a lot of opportunities for us, and it has. But it's also one of those things where you can't sit still. Our existing way of operating, I knew that it was going to need to change. And so, we talk about, the fear, the uncertainty and everything. The disruption of AI in terms of employment and what it does to certain careers in certain industries is not even. It's not evenly distributed. Like it's gonna, it shuffles the deck. And so, for me, getting off the starting line was eventually just kind of like this rising sense that, okay, this stuff, quote unquote, AI, right, is a lot more real than, this was a couple of years ago where this journey really started for me. But like the realization that it wasn't a novelty. And it was going to have, serious implications and opportunities, opening doors, closing doors and opening doors, right? Whether we wanted it to or not. And as the leader of this company, I had a responsibility to go and do my research, to do my homework and understand this sort of stuff. But I mean, the things you're talking about are real. Like I'm sure you see this, that even today on social media, there's essentially two kinds of messaging. There's messaging that whether it's intentional or not, it has the outcome of inflicting imposter syndrome on people. It makes them feel like they're behind, because it's experts or people who are like so deeply engrossed in it, talking to each other, that they're like speaking a different language. And some people, like some influencers on social media, like deliberately lean into this. Like they deliberately try to scare people because it is an engagement technique that works.
And they're liars.
Yeah.
When we went through all that, the open claw stuff, I mean, everyone's like, I made $75,000 today with my 75 fleet or swarm of agents. It's like the hype around it and like just the exaggeration and it's exhausting. I feel like where we're at now, July, August, 2026, we've kind of like, we're in the kind of trough a little bit where like, it feels like people are starting to metabolize some of this. These are tools. Some of the like token maxing stuff is falling off. Like all the agentic madness is kind of falling into like a predictable bucket. So yeah, it is really, I think challenging to get signal.
It is. And then at the same time, there's quite an economy, like an industry, a sub industry, if you will, on social media, influencer wise, that's still saying that AI is a sham. That it's not real, that it's not. This is getting harder and harder. This particular grift is getting harder and harder to pull off as the evidence mounts. But it's not discouraging them from trying. And I've kind of watched this slowly move even through some of my friends group. The people who are more leaning on that it's a sham. You know, it's not, it's just not, it's like that. It's completely overhyped. And, you know, like some of the last holdouts in my friend group are starting to let go of that a little bit. But, you know, as a broader public, there's still a very large audience, I think, that's still, but either way, both of those, keep in mind, both of those are speaking to fear.
All right, fitness fans, creatine might be the most studied supplement on the planet, and for years, everybody thought it was just for guys trying to get huge in the gym. And we are, but that's maybe a third of the story. Yes, the physical benefits are real. More strength, better recovery, more output. But what got me taking it every single day is the mental side. Your brain runs on the same energy systems your muscles do, and the research on creatine for focus, memory, and mental fatigue is genuinely impressive. I notice it most on long days, back-to-back calls, deep work in the afternoon, and I'm still not fried by 3 p.m. And I really notice it when I don't take it. Momentous makes pure creatine. NSF certified and third-party tested, no fillers, no junk. I'm on about 10 grams a day. And because it's a daily habit, this is exactly the kind of thing you should have on subscription instead of remembering to reorder. So click the link in the show notes, and my code stacks with the standard 25% subscription discount for 35% off your first subscription order, plus 10% off every recurring order after that. If you're taking daily creatine, this is the absolute best. Subscribe once, set it and forget it. Thanks, Momentous. All right, maybe you're like me. Your entire wardrobe is from Costco and Home Depot. Kirkland jeans? Yup. 5-pack of t-shirts you grab next to the rotisserie chicken? Yes. Maybe a fleece you bought while shopping for drill bits. I get it, shopping for clothes is a major pain. So you just don't do it. But the thing is, you still want to look good. You just don't want to earn it at the mall. Now, this episode is brought to you by Tailor, the AI-powered menswear styling service for busy professionals. Here's how it works. Tailor's AI teams up with professional human stylists, and yes, actual humans with actual taste, to curate outfits based on your fit, your goals, and what your life actually looks like. If you've got a big presentation coming up, or a conference, or a first date after a long hiatus, they got you. The clothes show up at your door, you wear them as long as you want, and you send them back laundry-free, and a fresh box arrives. Wear, return, repeat. It's the easiest way to look your best, and you never have to set foot in a fitting room. And you keep your Costco run for the snacks and the protein. And bonus, because you're renting premium clothes instead of buying stuff that dies in your closet, you're helping cut fashion waste too. Look good, save time, waste less. Head to tailor.style and use code Ryan30 for $30 off your first shipment. Any plan, code Ryan30, that's TAELOR.style, and use code Ryan30.
The open claw liars, et cetera, right, or whatever, like, they're driving engagement with fear. And the ones,
you know what? I want to give a shout out to my favorite AI naysayer too. Do you know Ed Zitron?
I do not.
Oh, he's an old buddy of mine, and he's a curmudgeon, and he would take that as a compliment.
Okay,
he's
excellent.
An amazing Brit. You know, has worked in PR forever, just absolute brilliant guy. But his newsletter has shot through the roof because he's punching a lot of holes in the AI veneer. And in some cases, he's really right. I mean, if you look at like revenue reports, if we're talking about OpenAI and Anthropic, which are staggering.
I know, it's amazing how
staggering.
Yeah.
But you also put that against like how much they've raised. It's like, whoa, the math isn't mathing. You know, and both OpenAI and Anthropic are preparing for a potential IPO this year. So like, who knows what's going on? But I think that there is room for like a logical discussion about like some of the hype bubble that most certainly AI is in. But to your point, I have friends like this too that are just like, no, it's all nonsense. We need to stop. It's all bad. It's evil. Yeah. Like a lot of emotional words get pulled into that. And I think probably who you're talking to, you know, talking to business owners that are maybe they're stepping over that line where they're like, look, man, I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to feel behind.
Right.
I don't want to feel making emotional decisions about my business. It's going to hurt my bottom line. Like, how can I take advantage and use some of these tools?
That's right. Yeah. And that's really who the book is aimed at, is people who want to engage, who want to be, taking advantage of AI. Like it's written primarily for business leaders, and business leaders who are outside. Like, I mean, like if you're a Fortune 500 CEO, you are getting good briefings. You know, your CIO team, and like, trust me, the big tech firms are taking care of you because they want you to stick around as a customer. So they are giving you all kinds of briefings, and they're keeping you in the loop. But outside of that, like once you get to like mid-market, like right now, the race between all of these technology companies, and I saw on one of your shorts, like, you know, like tech has become like savagely competitive again. Uh, and so they're so focused on that that if there were one dominant company in the AI space and this was settled who was going to win or whatever, they would be spending a lot more time on education than they currently are. But because it is just this just like sprint, they're not slowing down to like catch people up. And like the most asked question I think of business leaders today is essentially some form of what are we going to do about AI? What are we going to do with AI? And this pressure is being focused, you know, like on the leadership of these companies. And, you know, again, take my experience as a longtime technology professional. But LLMs, AIs are so different than all traditional computing that we've ever dealt with that even I had to go on a bit of a, you know, like vision quest to understand what it was really about and understand what the future of actual AI success customized to business looks like. How are they supposed to do it? And it is just a massive challenge, and you have to have some level of intuition about how it all works. So, for example, if you're a business leader today, you know, mid-market CFO, you understand traditional software far better than you realize. Like the amount that if you went to a place that didn't have software and you were asked to write a book about software, you'd be amazed at how large and comprehensive, you know, like how much knowledge about what software can and can't do, what traditional computing can and can't do, and examples of it, all that kind of stuff. You have like encyclopedic level knowledge of it, even if you've never written a line of code. But like AI is a completely new form of computing. It's a completely new, it doesn't have almost anything in common with the computing that we've learned. And people need to build up that same level of like intuition about it and understanding of it at a certain level of abstraction. Like you don't need to know every last detail. You don't need to be an AI researcher, you know, to understand this, but you do need to understand how the Lego bricks go together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you need to have at least a fundamental understanding of what it can do, what it can't do, what are the opportunities, what are the threats, where do you want to deploy AI, where does it make sense that you don't? And I really like the word that you use too, like a vision quest, because in order to like go on a vision quest, that's a vision, that's a journey inwards. So you have to kind of look at yourself and be like, okay, well, how can I implement this in the right way? And I think we're in a really interesting place for that right now, but I don't want to talk so much about where we're at right now because we'll get into the technical weeds, and we don't want to do that. I want to speak more directly to people that maybe been sitting on the sidelines.
Yes.
You know, maybe they've seen a couple of my videos. Maybe they're wading in to like the AI by listening to this podcast, you know? And so like for them, they're ready to take the emotional challenge of like, okay, I realize I'm going to need to make some changes. So let's start from just like square one. The way that I started wading in was with novelty too, you know, where I was like, you know, after I mourned the death of art, I was like, all right, well, I might as well like start making some fun pictures and, you know, make some music. And like, it was like kind of the generative stuff that kind of got me into it. Be like, okay, I'm starting to understand it, having conversations with GPT, for example, and having it frame things. You know, I remember I was traveling from Columbia, Missouri back to Denver, you know, which is across the Great Prairie, you know.
Yes, indeed.
Not a lot to look at. And so I was like, okay, GPT, I want you to frame this journey I'm going on. I'm going, you know, I-70 West, just all the way. But tell me a story as I pass these towns of Kit Carson and his experiences traversing the West in the 19th century. And it was awesome, And so she's like, and ChatGPT is her for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and so she's explaining me these cool stories of the places that I'm in and how Kit Carson experienced it. And then I'd say like, okay, now I want you to explain it to me how Malcolm Gladwell would explain it to me. Now I want you to explain it to me how Jack Kerouac would write about it. And so just like playing with like the LLM and okay, where is it good at? What's it not good at? So that was like important for me to use it as a toy in the beginning. What would you recommend as a good entry point for someone to really start to dive in?
Well, I mean, given that, I think that the number one thing you have to get over is there's this chasm between off-the-shelf usage and customized to your business usage.
Yeah.
And the Anthropic and OpenAI, they're doing a better and better job about baking customization into their core offerings. But so the way I explain it in the book is, let's take Claude, for example, just because it makes it easy to pick one. It knows almost everything relevant from human history. It doesn't even have to go look it up. Like it's trained into its brain. It every time it wakes up, it knows everything it needs to ever need to know. Almost not everything, but it knows so much about the Roman Empire. Like in the book, I show sort of like a rough visual of like how much these LLMs know relative to like to the size of the knowledge that's in Wikipedia. And it's shocking how much they know. And then they have the ability to search the web for that next level down of information that they didn't get trained in for whatever reason. It was too obscure or too recent, didn't get trained in. And we don't even notice when we're using these off-the-shelf tools almost when it goes and searches the web versus when it's retrieving something from its own, pre-training that's built into its brain when it wakes up. We don't even notice that difference really anymore. It just knows things. But when it comes to your business, that didn't get trained in. And that's not like all of the tribal knowledge of all the the thousands of workflows that make up your company and like your strategies and all these sorts of things are not available on the web either. So the analogy I use in the book is these things are like PhDs and everything, but brand new hires for your business. And that's not going to be successful. If you ask it to help you work on a business problem, your first job is to now spend a tremendous amount of time and energy explaining to this thing, like, what it is about you. You have to like give it all of this background information, and it's exhausting. And it's stuck in that chat. and no one else can use it, and even you really can't reuse it, and it wears you out. Like there's what's this new phrase we've been hearing? Bot sitting.
That's sitting. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you sit down with these off-the-shelf tools and you start to get like that first 80% of the result. It's enough to like pull you in. But the last 20%, which is important, takes you so much effort because you're essentially training a new employee. Yeah. And by the way, a new employee who can't even really remember all of that much new information. Right. It has a limited brain capacity, has a limited ability to, and even before you fill its brain, it starts to become forgetful.
Totally. Oh yeah. It's like, what would you like to work on? It'd be like, dude, you wrote the PRD. You tell me, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. So, understanding like sort of people's first, the first leap for business leaders is to, and people who are going to be involved in these solutions at all, anywhere, whether they're leaders or influential ICs, is to internalize that trying to use these off-the-shelf solutions, for true repeated business use, like that's not the agentic future we've been promised. That's not the thing that everyone's excited about. And to get there, you have to engage with custom software and using data, whether it's textual, training manuals essentially, or whether it's structured data or some hybrid of the two, making the right information available to the LLM at the right time is the whole game.
Yeah.
In order to get good results out of it. And
Yeah.
so, you mentioned sort of like, what's your kind of like hello world first experience with this? Like, I think, for me, it was connecting Claude desktop via an MCP server, an MCP, interface, up to Notion, and building up like a knowledge bank in Notion about just our brand guidelines for our company. Because you ask this, default vanilla Claude to help you, brainstorm some ad copy for your company. It's just not gonna get there. But I had all these brand guidelines behind the scenes that I could ingest and store in a place so that it doesn't have to be told over and over again. I don't have to constantly be carrying those buckets of water and dumping them into the tank, And when I saw how much more, not just how much more effective it was almost like the LLM became more intelligent. Like with that extra grounding, it was able to, it felt, I mean, this is a subtle perception, it almost like it felt confident enough to take a little bit more risk, to be a little bit more creative, to be a little bit more interesting. And it just changed everything for me. And so the off the shelf equivalent, that I'm recommending to, like my social group these days is to sit down and try out Claude Cowork.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go to code, like the idea of a folder on your computer that starts to build up some knowledge base that every time you sit down to talk with this thing, whether it's a new chat or an old chat, it gets hydrated and trained, almost like oh, this is my motivation. This is the history of this project. These are the guidelines. These are the goals. All of that sort of like gets injected into its brain on hello.
Yeah.
Changes your whole experience, your whole outlook with all of this stuff.
Yeah. To underline that point too, I ask all the guests, all the founders, all the CEOs, of course we're building with AI. We're doing we have these big projects. We have a backlog of stuff we need to get to, but what is the one like integration or automation that like, if you lost it today, you'd really feel it? And almost 90% of the time, they'll answer that it's the daily brief, whether they're getting it to like inbox or they're getting it in Slack, basically where Claude is telling them like, here's what's on deck for you. These are your priority tasks. These are the people you're meeting with. Here's background information about them. Here's the things you put off last week. Here's the things we want to do this week. Just that like little daily brief is huge. I think that's what most people ended up with with OpenClaw. And now you can do it in Claude Cowork so easy, and it's incredible. I mean, I would really recommend for people that are just thinking about it. It's like, do what Rob did, like hook up your Notion, hook up your calendar, hook up your Gmail. Maybe I'm not making recommendations. You're giving the Frontier model the keys.
Yeah.
But, if you're willing to do that, hook up all of the information you've got. That's easy. They already have connections to all this stuff. And then go buy a box of cigarettes and get a bottle of bourbon and just do the AI astrology and just be like, who am I? Let's talk about me. What do you know about me now?
Yeah.
And have fun with it, because like, actually a lot of the recommendations are great. Oh, Ryan, I know that you like deep work. Why is it that you only have these time blocks to do deep work, 3 hours a week? Why don't you change your schedule? And you're like, actually, that's a great recommendation. Let me light another cigarette. I don't know why we're smoking, but it seems fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're recommending all kinds of great habits here, right? Like just completely open up the robe to the frontier labs.
I think because ultimately, like, once you're smoking and drinking, talking to AI, you're all in. You're
Yeah.
like, all right, I just gave up everything. Like,
Yeah. So like, I mean, this is just kind of like, smoking and drinking used to be two of my favorite things, like, cigars and,
amen, brother.
like cigars. And I was a rum guy.
You a pirate or what?
Yeah, uh, so, but boy, cigars and, hard liquor, man, during COVID, they, they gave me mouth cancer. And
Oh,
so
really?
like, yeah.
Oh, man.
And, it wasn't, I mean, I didn't, like, I lucked out. It was just a very simple removal, no big deal. Like, I didn't need chemo or radiation or any of that kind of stuff. So, I didn't get the, what you would think of as the cancer experience, but I did have a moment to contemplate my mortality.
Yeah.
And because, I didn't know at the beginning that it was going to turn out that way, like it's just all these scary, pathology reports, and,
Yeah.
so that has kind of put put a kink in my, cigar and liquor, vices.
Now,
I'm
it's all yoga and run clubs now, bro.
yeah, it's, other addictions. Yeah.
The good days are behind us. It's peptides. We have HRT to look forward to. We
Hmm.
got robots. Robots are coming too, so that'll be cool.
Yeah. Maybe they can do the cardio for me.
Do they got a peptide for cardio yet? Wouldn't that be great?
I'm sure that will have no side effects whatsoever.
Exactly. Like I'm gonna go climb a 14er. Just inject something into my forehead. That
Yeah.
should clear everything up. I'll be fine.
Just give me something that just like spikes my heart rate to, 98% of max. I'll just sit here and sweat. Yeah. That sounds like a great
Totally.
idea. No problem at all.
Nice. Okay, so we're not smoking, we're not drinking, but we are talking to AI about us because, ultimately I think, it's like the old Dale Carnegie thing, the sweetest sound to anybody's ear is the sound of their own voice. So it's like if you give your data to the LLMs in a kind of a introductory way, we're not talking about unstructured data, which I'm sure as a data analyst, this stuff has to just be like absolute Christmas for you.
Yeah.
But, for people getting involved, it's like the LLMs are very well trained to like start to understand your habits and what you like and what you don't like and make recommendations around workflows that like actually, make a big difference.
Yeah. And yeah, I do think it's really interesting that, so as a longtime data professional, the notion that, unstructured, textual data is now, needs the same sorts of disciplines that, structured data did. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but so for example, I talk about in the book, this concept of handbooks. So if you think about it again, following the new hire, super smart new hire, analogy, you know, you would, if it was a human new hire, well, you would give them training, right? You put them through an onboarding process, and there'd be some documentation to it, et cetera. And handbooks are just, essentially text that explain. I talk about this as sort of like you can take this generalist LLM and give it a handbook, which on the inside we would call it's part of the system prompt, like whatever. But again, it's really important, I think, to find language that bridges the gap, that bridges this insider and sitting outside the pool. And so like if you get a good handbook that creates a good agent specialist for your company that now can do a particular role, it might be a simple role, but it wasn't able to do it out of the box. And now with this handbook that it's handed every time it wakes up, it can perform this task, and it can perform it very meaningfully. Well, where does that handbook get stored? It needs to be someplace that it's editable, but only by the right people, because the role might change over time. The role might improve. You might be able to improve the agent over time as well. And then also there's context about your company that, again, is textual. I call them backgrounders in the book. Like what is our differentiation in the market? What is our go-to-market strategy? All those sorts of things. And maybe these, not all the background information about your company is relevant to every agent, and not all background information is relevant to every agent at all times, but it needs to be available to your custom agents that you've built, because like in different situations, they do need to go look these things up. And so there's this discipline developing around, and we had this thing called one version of the truth in structured data, which was, we had this world where originally where everyone was playing my spreadsheet can beat up your spreadsheet. And we arrive at a meeting and we each have our own spreadsheet purportedly describing the same thing, but it comes to very different conclusions and has very different opinions on what should be just really factual matters of record. You don't want that, and you can't have that same problem with the contextual layers that undergird your AI strategy. You need the same one version of the truth. And it needs to be. It's not one person responsible for all of this content. Like, it needs to be a collaborative, federated exercise, like certain experts in certain corners of the business, and it needs to be known where it all is. I love how the AI adoption, the AI customization problem really kind of almost like reduces down to a traditional software and data and information problem.
Yeah.
It's really kind of elegant, and it's a lot more straightforward and simple and less scary than when you're sitting on the outside and you don't understand all this stuff yet.
Totally. And particularly if there's like certain deterministic outcomes, it's like, well, you're just not going to use AI for that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, bring that into a different workflow.
That's right. Yeah. So, if you think of AI, LLMs as a new kind of computing, that goes hand in hand with the CPU style of computing that we've all grown up with. And it's really interesting. It has almost like the exact opposite capabilities as CPU computing. If you ask an LLM to do some long division for you, to divide a couple of integers, if it's smart, it will go and invoke a CPU software tool to go do that math.
Sure.
Because it's like a couple of instructions and it's done. But if it's gonna reason through it using its LLM brain, and it's gonna perform like trillions of calculations to do something that is a trivial layup for the CPU. Yeah. And I tried in the book to like come up with examples where it failed at long division, just to illustrate this point. And like, if I'd written this book a year ago, I would have had plenty of examples of it failing at long division. They've gotten wise to this though, and they've patched this, and so these things like reason through and approximate and everything, and they can get the right answer. I think in some cases they are learning to recruit the right CPU tools to do it instead. But like you need a hybrid. You do not. So one of the things I say in the book also is like, you never want an LLM generating a number for you.
Right. Well, there's that guy's made a whole career, talking to GPT as an influencer, where he's just like, how many peas are an apple?
Right.
It's like, there's one pea an apple. He's like, no.
Yep. So they've patched that too.
They've got that.
Yeah, they've patched that too. I mean, these sorts of things that are embarrassing PR debacles for the company, they do get attention.
Yeah.
And it did make it a little bit, again, I wanted to be able to point out these examples and why traditional software would count the P's in Apple in an eye blink, not even an eye blink, right? Like, there's a multiple billion instruction per second frequency on these CPUs. It is nothing. It takes zero time. and it's deterministic. It's going to get the right answer. And so I spend some time in the book talking about how these two complement each other. And you don't want to lean too hard on one style of computing or the other. You want to integrate them, infuse them, and hybridize between them, because you don't have to choose between their relative strengths and weaknesses. Like you don't have to like settle for it. If you're using the right component at the right time, you're going to get the strengths and really like kind of like sideline the weaknesses of both.
Love it. All right, Rob, we're at the time where we're going to enter the quantum round. Are you ready for this?
Quantum round. Is this where I can give like multiple different answers at once and we'll just pick the one that we like? Is that how that works?
That's how it works. Yeah, I ask a question in multiple dimensions. You'll give completely different and maybe similar answers.
Okay, sounds great.
So I'm going to lead with the founder question. The founder question is brought to you by our sponsor, Tailor.style. Now, Tailor is a menswear subscription service. So for, I think it's $90 a month, they send you a box with 6 different outfits. You can wear them. If you like them, keep them and buy them for a discount, or you can send them back and they'll give you some more outfits. And I tell you, for me, this is very important for one big reason. And that's because I have the torso of a man who is 6'4", but I'm 5'10", which means that I have these trolley, stumpy, really wide legs. You know, I have a plebeian build. Like I was designed to carry rocks over there and hit a big animal with it and drag the carcass home. That's my hardware. So buying clothes is difficult, Rob, you know, but through their AI stylist and then an actual real person that I text with, I'm like, hey, here's my dimensions. It's kind of challenging. And they send me beautiful clothes. Tomorrow, I'm hosting a AI panel downtown Denver. It's going to be a great event. And I didn't have to think twice about it. They sent me a sport coat, some cool pants, a nice white shirt. I'm going to look amazing. So I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Tailor.style. Now, the founder challenge question, and I'm giving you kind of a tough one, Rob, because you're at Vanderbilt, you studied, science and mathematics, computer science, but you also studied philosophy.
I did.
So I'm going to give you kind of a challenging question here. What's something that you haven't forgiven yourself for yet?
Wow. Something I haven't forgiven myself for yet. Wow, there are a number of things that I'm still working through.
Use that editing process.
Yeah.
Make sure the statute of limitations is expired.
Yeah, I think I haven't forgiven myself for like essentially the way I was in high school. Like the ways I was filling holes in my the holes in my soul, right? Filling them with achievement, and kind of not being as nice to the people around me as I would like to be. Like basically anytime you externalize like one of your own problems and make it other people's burden to carry in some way, these are really easy mistakes to make. It's where almost like a majority of misbehavior in the world, not the totality, but a majority of misbehavior in the world comes from some sort of externalization.
Yeah.
And I think every day I wake up and I see the past a little differently, and I'm constantly striving to externalize less.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to my kids about that, because I'm like you, man. When I discovered there's like a Buddhist demon that they call the hungry ghost, and it's basically the feeling of just like a black hole that you keep like trying to push everything in, but then the hungry ghost, it has a very small mouth, so it's like it's never satiated. It's like just a great metaphor for how it feels to be a human sometimes, especially
Yeah.
when you're a kid. My kids are in high school. Well, my daughter's in college, but my son's in high school, and so kind of talking about that feeling and how you grow through it. But like kind of, I think what you're doing is probably very practical and good, which is like kind of reframing what happened in the past to like create a story about the trajectory that you're going to now, because we're all, bald monkeys and like storytelling is so important. So if you can create the happy ending story, you're just midway through it. I think it is really productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool. Okay. Seeing how the AI game changes so fast, how did you approach writing a book about AI so it has some chance to be evergreen?
Yeah. I tried really hard, obviously, right? And I knew that even the delay between finishing the book and the book reaching the shelves itself was a risk era, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just knew as soon as like I said, okay, this is the committed copy, send it. There's a like 8-week plus process before it hits shelves, right? And like that is a white knuckling period of time. So I tried to stick to the things in the book that, like the book deliberately tries to fill a middle altitude in the market for books today that is relatively unpopulated. There's really high level strategy, fluffy stuff, right? Books that are trendy to have under your arm walking into a boardroom, type of meeting, and then there's hyper technical stuff. The fundamentals of how LLMs have worked, and the fundamentals of context and tools and all that kind of stuff, there is something about, and context windows and all sorts of things, like even as these things have been advancing at breakneck pace, and even as we've gotten better and better at integrating them into like agentic systems and all that kind of stuff, really the fundamentals kind of sit kind of solidly in place, like until we have a completely new paradigm that's not an LLM. And I really tried to stay focused on that. So like I'm not trying to write like the 300 level practitioner book.
Yeah.
Like when you're focusing on, like I was, trying to get people off the sidelines and into a zone of confidence, like it's a little easier, I think, to future-proof a bit. The one place where in between finishing the book and now that I'm like, I'm kind of like looking at going like, oh, see, this is an interesting development, is the notion of fine tuning and modifying LLMs. Like I sort of explicitly stay away from that in the book, just to keep things calm for people and say, look, to be good at AI, you don't need to be an AI researcher. To be good at AI, you don't need to be modifying LLMs or building your own LLMs. And the second edition of this book very well might end up featuring that, relatively prominently, like almost like on par. I don't know, but we're certainly seeing, especially with some of the recent competitive changes, like we're definitely seeing that emerge. So in some sense, it was a solvable problem because of exactly the mission that I had was to build confidence and to bridge people from the sidelines into kind of bring them into the arena. And the fundamentals of the technology not really moving even while their capabilities do. So it wasn't that bad, but of course there's things that, I would immediately go back and, I mean, like the fine tuning is in there as an appendix. It is in there, but I would probably promote it to, an earlier chapter, and not have it in an appendix, for example.
Love it. Amazing. And the website is this the best place to pick up the book? Fairgamebook.ai. I'm assuming Amazon's got it.
Yeah.
Any other places?
Given that the book is launched now, it's really anywhere books are sold. I wouldn't worry about, going to we had a pre-order site. But just look it up wherever books are sold. It's out there.
Amazing. We'll link to several places in the show notes if you want to pick up the book. And, we have a pretty experienced audience, But also, like, if you look at the numbers, like, I think, I mean, obviously, ChatGPT was the fastest growing app of all time. Like when GPT came out, everybody got it. So a
Yep.
lot of the numbers around AI use are skewed on that. So it's like 10% of people have used AI, which means that they went there instead of Google, or maybe they're still doing that. But I think less than 1% are actually building with AI, and so
Yes.
for business owners. So folks listening to this and they know somebody at the tip of their tongue who's been hammering them about AI, but now they're on the fence. This would be a great gift to that person to be like, you know what, this is the book that was going to put you in the right direction and send you on your journey. So
Yeah.
it's not overwhelming to you right from the get-go.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean, I wrote it for a very broad audience.
Yeah.
It does not require you to be a techie
Yeah.
to read and understand this.
Yeah. Amazing. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the show. Again, all the links will be in the show notes. Rob, where's the best place for people to connect with you personally online?
I would just look me up on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Rob Collie on LinkedIn.
Rob Collie, we'll put that in the show notes as well. Rob, thank you so much for joining me.
Ryan, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
In 3 years, AI fluency will be a baseline expectation for every college grad, not a differentiator. It'll be a requirement. The students getting ahead are the ones building that skill right now in high school and college before it becomes table stakes. AInativestudent.com is the program doing that. Weekly one-on-one coaching, live cohort sessions, on-demand courses, and the fastest growing AI chat for students, all tailored to your student's specific career path. Pre-med, they learn how AI is transforming diagnostics. Pre-law, they learn legal AI tools. Business, they learn to think like an AI power operator. One flat membership, less than a private tutor, cancel anytime, and if you're a founder listening to the show, you already know the cost of falling behind. Don't let your kid pay that price. Go to AInativestudent.com, apply in a couple minutes, and get your student into the cohort that changes their trajectory. AInativestudent.com and send them to the chat. It's totally free. Here's what separates the founders who become icons from the ones who stay invisible: a weekly newsletter. Not because it's trendy, because inbox is where business actually gets done. It's where investors read your thinking before they take the call. Where future hires decide they want to work for you. Where customers remember why they chose you. Your social posts disappear in a couple hours. Your newsletter compounds for years. Inbox Alchemy builds your entire founder newsletter operation from scratch. The writing, the design, the beautiful branded website, and a growth engine that takes you from 0 to 25,000 subscribers in your first 6 months. They manage everything, so your personal brand is working for you around the clock, building reputation, deepening relationships, and driving real pipeline, all while you run your company. The founders building email audiences right now are playing a game the algorithm can never touch. That's inboxalchemy.co, and go build yours. I want to tell you about someone I think you should hire. Her name is Casey Taylor, and Casey is an AI partnership agent. And Casey's entire job is securing brand sponsorships for your podcast. Not handing you a spreadsheet, actually reaching out, making the pitch, and closing the deal for your show on your behalf. Chasing sponsorships for podcasters is a headache. They'd rather be recording episodes. Casey manages that completely. You brief Casey on your show, Casey goes to work, and you get back to doing the thing you're actually good at. Whether you've got 5,000 listeners or 50,000, she knows how to find the right brands for your audience and get them on board. You need Casey. Every podcaster does. Go to gethowdy.com, that's GETHOWDI.com, and meet Casey Taylor. Your new partnership agent is ready when you are. Every week I sit down and ask myself one question. What do founders actually need to know about AI right now? Not the think pieces or the stuff that sounds impressive, the real useful put it to work today stuff. Then I write it up, send it to you in your inbox free. That newsletter is called AI for Founders, and I built it because I was tired of wading through hit pieces and people that are afraid of the future. Each issue, I break down the tools worth your time, the strategies that are working, and the ways you can use AI to grow your company without burning out or getting left behind. Thousands of founders read it every week, and I'd love for you to be one of them. Subscribe for free at aiforfounders.co. 3 seconds to sign up, and I promise it's worth it.